This is episode 211. Yes, my friend, it's 211. And this is the Midlife Launch podcast, which will not be around for too much longer. Oh, you say, oh man, what does that mean, Kingsley? Well, have you been listening? Yeah, for the last 2 or 3 episodes, I've been outlining and sharing with you what's coming up, and I'm so excited. I posted the graphic of the new podcast show that's coming, that this show will become in a few weeks, and on my Facebook page and on other social media platforms, and I've been getting some rare reviews. A number of people have been so excited about it and happy for me, and I hope you are too, because I want to tell you more about that, but not just yet. Why? Because on this episode, I want to talk to you about what it is I'm doing while you're listening to this show. As a matter of fact, let me just give you a brief overview of what this show is going to be like. It's going to be different. I can tell you I've never done anything like this before, but I'm going to experiment with an idea that I had when I was thinking about recording the show. What's going to happen in a few minutes, my friend, is this. You're going to hear my voice as I recorded another show that I have that's called Success Caribbean Style Podcast, right? So it's www.successcaribbeanstyle.com. And what's going to happen is I'm going to share that recording in this episode, because why do 2 episodes of the same thing? I want to give you an update of what is happening where I'm at. And so you hear me mention a number of things there about how to connect with the show and how to be a part of the group and in Facebook and Facebook page and Facebook group and what it's all about. But listen, don't you turn this off, because it's about a number of things that apply to you here. Why? How is it you're able to do certain things with your life, especially at this stage of life? You know, this is one of those things I've looked forward to. I've been planning, and you'll hear more about that in the recorded episode that I'll be playing in a few minutes. But I won't belabor the point and try to retell you the story, which you're going to hear. But I want to say that I'm right now, as you're listening here, on a cruise, and you'll hear more about that just in a minute or so. But can I just ask you, I'm sorry, let me just tell you about quickly what's going to happen. This show, if you have not heard yet, is going to become Smooth Career Change Podcast. Smooth Career Change Podcast. And it's geared for people like you in that stage of life. I call it the over 40 crowd. The over 40 crowd. And is for aspiring entrepreneurs, leaders, and other professionals who are in transition, who really want to share and monetize their expertise and experience, right, while making an impact in their world, doing what they love. That's you, right? So that's the essence of where the show is going. And that I'll tell you more about that in the next show and so on, and how it's going to be all kind of launched. And because I'm really doing a launch as I teach here for the last several months, and you hear and see how that's been done right before your very eyes, just in case you have been thinking about a launch yourself, but just did not know how to go about doing it. Or if you should even do it. Yes, my friend, that's what it's going to be about. But I wanted to just again say thank you for joining me here on the Midlife Launch Podcast. And everything you hear today in this show will be found in the show notes at themidlifelaunch.com/211. themidlifelaunch.com/211. Even the links you're hearing in the recorded episode, even though it has to do with Success Caribbean Style, you'll find those links in themidlifelaunch.com/211. Okay, with that said, my friend, thank you for joining me. Now let's get that show started as you listen to my recording, okay, of that show. And it's going to end up with that show. So again, you'll find all the links in the recording. in the show notes at themidlifelaunch.com/211. Here we go. This is episode 18, and you're listening to Success Caribbean Style Podcast with your host, your coach, and your guide, Kingsley Grant. It's a pleasure and a privilege to sit here basically behind the microphone once again and reaching you through these earbuds you're listening through. And I want to say thank you for joining me on this episode today. It's going to be a different episode in the standpoint of you're going to hear my voice. I want to be solo. Yeah. I don't have a guest today, and there's a reason why, and I'll share with you in a few minutes why is that so. But I want to say, if you have not yet joined the Facebook page, or actually like the Facebook page at Success Caribbean Style, can I ask you to do that? Also, there is a group that I've started just for you. Yes. You'll be hearing from me more about that as this program evolved, or the show evolved, because I want to talk to you about why is that group there and how it was going to serve you. But today, I want to share with you something very, very exciting, because as you're listening to the show, I am on the waters. Yes, my friend, I am on the waters. You say, well, Kingsley, what does that mean? What does it mean? No, I'm not underwater, okay? And I don't know, in Jamaica, where I'm from, as you know, and those who, well, if you have not heard before, I'm Kingsley Grant, your host, and I'm from Jamaica. And if you listen to my first episode 1 and 2, or episode 0 and episode 01, I talk a little bit more about my background and my history and what led to me starting this podcast. But I remember growing up, people who used to drink a lot of alcohol, you will hear them say, man, I'm underwater. That person is under their waters. They're holding their water. And it wasn't water, H2O, water. That's water, right? It's alcohol. I mean that they can hold their alcohol, right? Or they have had too much water or alcohol to drink and they're underwater. So that is not what it is for me. I will be on a cruise. Yes. And I'll be on the Princess Cruise. And if you are a Princess Cruise listener, you may want to say that, hey, I'm giving you a shout out on this show. You might want to consider, or someone who makes the decision to consider sponsoring this show, because I'm giving you a shout out for free on this episode. Yes, Princess Cruise. And I will be on that ship while you're listening, I'll be floating out on that ocean. Yeah, I'm going on the Western Caribbean, and I'll tell you again a little bit more about that. But I love cruises. I would do one of those at least maybe once every other year. I try to go on a cruise. My wife and I, we kind of alternate and do that, because we just don't want to always stay on land. Sometimes it's great to go out on the ocean. If you've never been on a cruise before, let me encourage you at some point, if you can. Now, I know not everybody can go on a cruise. I understand that. And sometimes a person hear this, they're thinking, oh yeah, you can go ahead. You got money. You can go because you have money. And, poor little me, I will never be able. No. Don't have that mindset. Never count yourself out. Never think you can never, or you can't. Who told you you can't? Where did that idea come from? Most times, it's our limited beliefs that tells us what we can or cannot do. I think it was Henry Ford who said this: if you believe you can or you believe you can't, you're right. You're right. Either way, you're right. I just choose to believe that I can. So for me, going on a cruise is not an overnight planning, as you can imagine. It's something that we save up for. And this is where so many people don't have a chance to experience life, because they don't save up. They spend more than they take in. If that's you, I'm not hopefully making you feel guilty. That's not my purpose. But people spend more than they take in, and so they don't plan for the future. They consume everything that they get right away. They live in the immediate, right today, and that's it. And when tomorrow comes, they deal with that. Well, unfortunately, that kind of mindset, that kind of idea won't get you to go on a cruise like I'm discussing here. But I want to get that out of your head. It's not because I'm someone who is wealthy, because I am not. I'm far from that. Well, let me take that back. To some regions of the world, right? To some people, I am extremely wealthy. So it's all a matter of perspective. right? It's relatively speaking. So to some people who have nothing, I am incredibly wealthy. So I am wealthy to some people, but you know what I'm talking about. It's to say I have money just flowing. People say, growing up out here, money does not grow on trees. Money don't grow on trees. Did you hear that growing up? When you ask your parents for something and they said, okay, so where are we going to get the money from? Do you think we make money, or we print money? Or do you think money grow on trees? And that kind of growing up with that mindset also kind of hamper us at some point, because as an adult, we may hear sometimes, oh no, I can't, because money does not grow on trees, right? Or we might say, where do you think money is going to come from? Right. So my whole point, and I'm sorry to kind of deviate to some degree, I'm making a point here that going on this cruise is not because we have money just laying around and nothing to do with it. No. It's because we plan. This trip has been planned for months and months and months. My whole point is that we're going on the Western Caribbean. So when you're listening to this episode, if you're listening to it on Monday, what date is that? November 28th, I will be out in the ocean. And I think we're going to be doing 3 stops. And the stops are Honduras, Cozumel, and Belize. I'm not sure, people ask me, what order? Well, I just really, my wife makes all that plans and I just show up and I go, right? I don't know if you're in a relationship with your spouse is that way, or maybe a family member who plans for you and all that stuff. And, you just kind of show up, right? And just enjoy. So anyway, that's what I'll be doing. And again, I go back to the fact, if you are listening, or someone who works at the Princess Cruises, I think there's another name for it. Hold on one second. Let me just see. Okay, I'm back. So it's the Princess Cruises, but I'm going on the Caribbean Princess. And it's a getaway. But my point is that hopefully one of these days when I make these stops, if I do go on a cruise and I make a stop, I can say, hey, I'll be in this city in the Caribbean on this day at this time. And if you are a listener and want to come and meet me for a brief, just kind of, get together and just say, hey, let's meet there. Then, as a matter of fact, if you are on the, you want to track and see what that cruise is going to be stopping first. And I don't know how that can work. I don't know. I'm just like off my head thinking out loud here. Well, one of these years I'll probably make it more official by saying, hey, I'll be here in this spot at a certain time. I get on the ship. And if you're in this country and can meet me for a quick drink or, coffee or tea, whatever the case might be, let's do it. But again, if you are connected with the Princess Cruises, and I'm looking for some sponsorship for this show, you might want to say, hey, this guy Kingsley Grant gave you a shout out, and this show is getting into the Caribbean, and maybe you might want to consider sponsoring. As a matter of fact, if you want to, you're in the Caribbean and want to say, hey, how can I sponsor this show at least 1 or 2 episodes so that I can talk about my business in the Caribbean, then you may want to contact me and say, Kingsley, how do I contact you? Well, just send me an email at podcast@successcaribbeanstyle.com. podcast@successcaribbeanstyle.com or Kingsley@successcaribbeanstyle.com. Either one of those will work just fine. And we can talk more about that at some later time. So I wanted to take this time to talk to you about that, about the fact that what I will be doing. And the following week, the next episode, I'll have a very interesting interview that's coming up. But I want to tell you a few things before we, wrap things up. I won't be long on this show, I tell you. But I wanted to tell you about what I have been thinking of and been planning about and talking through to myself and others. I have been wondering, how can I be more of a support to you? What can I do to support you and be more available? How can I mentor or coach, whether a group or an individual who might want to figure out a way? How can I maybe transition into a new career? Maybe I'm going through some situations and I need to overcome some obstacles and achieve my own success, but I don't know where to start. As a matter of fact, I have an interview that's coming up with a friend that I did. Actually, I met him through another podcast, and he is in Trinidad. And that episode with his name is Anthony Hadid. And if you heard about that gentleman, you know he has some great information that he'll be sharing. But that will be a future episode. But you'll hear more about what he does. But one of the things that he does so interesting is he has this assessment that help people, maybe someone like you, who want to figure out what it is you're best suited for and want to do in your life. And why I mentioned that is because I wanted to say, how can I be more of a help to you? And so I thought about starting a Facebook group. I mentioned briefly at the beginning. Now, this is different from a Facebook page. I have both. So Success Caribbean Style is on Facebook. So if you go to facebook.com/Success Caribbean Style, that is a page. Now, what's the difference between a page and a group? A page is where you can do kind of ads, you can promote to people, you can do you can do paid ads, you can do some kind of webinars and so on there. Whereas a group right now, as of now, you cannot do ads in a group directly. Now there's ways to work around that, but you cannot do it directly. But the group is where how should I put it? The action is. That's where we come together and have one-on-one conversation. Is where you can really interact with people, and it's almost like an online meetup, an online networking. And some of my guests will be hanging out there. I'll be posting their episodes there, and you can interact with them, ask them questions, and get some feedback from them. We can all have conversation. We can help each other, and I can facilitate a conversation that might be helpful to you. But that's a group. So I also have a group in facebook.com/groups/Success Caribbean Style Innovators. Now I know it's kind of long, but I wanted to, I started off by Success Caribbean Style Forum, but I changed to Creators, and I finally settled on what I thought was a better choice of words, because I feel that you are an innovator. And I am an innovator, and most of my guests are innovators. So I decided to go with the name Success Caribbean Style Innovators. That's pretty long, but if you go to facebook.com/groups/Success Caribbean Style Innovators, and as a matter of fact, if you start typing, it'll pop right up. Let me encourage you to request to join that group. Request to join the community. Now, I must say that is not many people in there yet, as of now, this episode, because I just launched it a few days as of this recording. So yes, it hasn't yet created that buzz, but I want you to share that with people who might want to know more about how to overcome obstacles and achieve their own success, how to pursue their own dream, how to identify their passion, their curiosity, what I call the song of your heart, and go after that, how to really know more about entrepreneurship or online business. Those are some things we want to have conversation about, provide resources in that group, and just to point you in the right direction of some things you might need. So let me encourage you to also not only to like the page Success Caribbean Style in Facebook, but request to join. Now you have to request to join the group at Success Caribbean Style Innovators. Why? Because only certain people that I've looked at their profile and I see that they're a good fit, I will allow in the group. This group is not about spamming people and just selling your product. No, it's about building relationship. It's about giving value. It's about answering questions. It's about helping people to know a little bit more about you and to meet people, I could see it as a huge online get together where you get to not expose yourself. That didn't sound right. You can experience other relationships with people, and then they can get to know who you are. You can get to know who they are, and who knows what may happen from that. You could have a joint venture, business, idea, and so on. But I want you to request to join that group. Here's the thing, as I mentioned before, that group is not about coming to sell your stuff. If I see that, I'm going to warn you, and then I'm going to say, hey, I'm sorry, you can no longer be in this group. It's not about taking advantage of the opportunity. It's not to be an It's not to be an opportunity. Oh boy, Have you ever had a hard time saying a word? Opportunist? I can't even say it, right? It's not to be a taker. Let's put it that way. That sounds quicker and better. But to be a giver. The more you give, the more you'll receive, right? The law of reciprocity that says if you give, it will reciprocate. Things will come back at you. And many times, it's, as the Bible says, good measure, pressed down, shaken together, men will give you into your bosom. So I find that you'll have more coming to you. So I want to encourage you to join that group. But also, can I ask you a big favor? Now, this is a big favor. Now, all these links will be in the show notes at successcaribbeanstyle.com/successcaribbeanstyle.com/018. You must know it's a late evening recording this episode, right? Because I am kind of, at the end of my day. But you know what? Once I get behind this mic, I'm charged, I'm energized. But yeah, every now and then I may make some blunders with and I'm not editing anything. Why? Because if I was talking to you live, all these things would come out anyway, right? So I want to be real. This is who I am. And again, if you want to know more about me, you can go to the first episode episode 01, and hear about how I came about the show and more about me. I talk more about that there in those 2 episodes. And I have the links in the show notes here at successcaribbeanstyle.com/018. But also I have it in the group that if you need to find that there, I have the show there. You can always click there and go to the episode itself. I mean, the show notes itself. So I wanted to just let you know what's happening. And I look forward one day to meeting you at some point. Who knows where I might be next? Who knows where this show is going to be going? Who's going to sponsor what? I wouldn't be surprised if one day this show has been sponsored by some of the cruise lines and the airlines that are targeting the Caribbean. And this show begin to become the hotbed where people of all walks, because I'm looking forward to interviewing some really key people who have migrated and done most of their work or some of their work overseas, wherever that was, away from the homeland. And I'm thinking of some huge names right now that I won't mention yet. We'll see what happens. I'm going to reach out to them and see if they could come on this show. But here's where you can help me. If you know someone who you think have migrated from their homeland, whether for a year, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, 15, 20 years, to another country and had to overcome some obstacles, work through some obstacles, whether school or career or otherwise, and achieve some measure of success as defined by them, I would love to hear from you and to have them on the show. Or maybe it's you. So let me know about that. Email me at podcast@successcaribbeanstyle.com, or in the group, if you request to join, we can have that conversation there. Or on the page, you can also put a note there for me as well. I just want to make myself available and for you to really access me quickly, right? So I started saying earlier that another way you can help me is by going to the links to the iTunes page. If you're on iTunes or Android, and leave me a rating, an honest rating and a review there. I know I'm asking a lot in this one show because I don't do this too often. It's mostly interviews, as you know. And so when I had the opportunity, I wanted to give you as much as possible about what's happening because I want to keep you abreast of changes and where things are. So again, thank you so very much, because I wanted to say I'm selling the Western Caribbean, and I wanted to make sure that you sail with me and you can have me in your earbuds. And hopefully this show helps you. And if you were behind the microphone at some point, updating your audience, let them know what's going on, letting them in your life. That's what it's all about. I'm letting you in my life right now. And I want to say thank you for joining me on this episode. Okay. So with that said, my friend, I interrupted this podcast to really get you back now to the midlife launch, because I was about to end on that, as you can tell, but I'm going to end shortly anyway. But I want to say thank you. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope this made sense to you. I hope you get my gist. I hope you get the message. I hope you heard about my other podcasts. And I hope let's just say, I hope that you appreciated what I did here. I would love to hear from you. So you can go to the midlifelaunch.com/211 and leave me a comment there. Or you can tweet me at Kingsley Grant. There's also a Facebook page that you can go and interact there as well at facebook.com/themidlifelaunchpad. And you can also leave a comment there or interact. But I would prefer if you just leave a comment here in the show, or you can email me if it's a personal comment you want to email me at just simply podcast@themidlifelaunch.com. Podcast@themidlifelaunch.com. Tweet me at Kingsley Grant, or just kind of follow me there as well. And on Facebook. Hey, I would love to hear from you somewhere, somehow. Let me hear from you. You have so many different ways I've given to you today. With that said, my friend, here we go now. Peace out. God bless. And I'll see you on the flip side.